Today we're talking about dominant buying choice, DBC. So DBC, what is that with the patient? How do we use this?
You know, for years we used to call it the dominant buying motive. And there was something about dominant buying motive that it's, as speakers, you know what we get is, oh, are you a motivational speaker? You know, what we know about speakers are they should be motivating, right? No matter who they are. But that's such a small frame for what we actually get to do and how dynamic what we do for people is. So when we started coming up with this and we changed some of the verbiage, we came up with this choice, because really it is about, there are so many choices out there. You know, you're watching this and you could be watching another video, you could be watching somebody's blog, you could be, there's so much information out there. You know, we used to just be good because we had information, and now it's not information, it's about an experience, so it's got to be different. And it's a choice. So what is going to make this person choose this dentistry, choose your practice, choose to engage with us long term? It really is about a choice. It's the motivation. It is the motivation. It's what moves somebody to the decision to choose you. That's basically what it is.
It's the reason.
That's exactly
the reason
right.
why they do it. So what's the process for understanding, because every individual is different, aren't they? And how do we go about finding that out for each person?
You know, what we like to use, we use a lot of acronyms, and so just get ready, because if you've watched any of this stuff, you know that we love acronyms, and it's LAD, L-A-D, it's the LAD. So remember the LAD, take the LAD, and it's listen, ask. So I listen to my caller, based on what the caller said, I'll ask a question, and I discover why they'll choose or not choose me based on how they answered my question. So it's really listen, ask, discover, listen, ask, discover. But the listening is what's so hard for us so many times in dentistry.
And I think it's a very different skill than what we have ever focused on.
Sure.
We're focused on telling versus listening. So it's a very powerful piece, but it's you're deepening the conversation. So tell us how you do that, because you're using what you've heard to ask the next question. So it's not just that you have 20 questions.
Right. Think more as a consumer than thinking about that you're in a dental practice. I want you to think like a consumer. I'm going to go back to a car. Okay, that's a rather large purchase. So you think about when you buy a vehicle, and I think about, you know, I love Infinities. This is my 5th Infinity. When I went to buy the vehicle that I have now, I asked the gentleman if I could see the new model, because I wanted to understand if the GPS was different than the other GPS, okay? So this guy wanted to start showing me these Infinities, and he was talking about the size of the rims and how the ride and the Bose sound system. You understand what just happened. He didn't listen and ask me and discover what I would choose for. So it ended up, I used the same excuse that your patients do. And think about when you've made a big purchase recently, because this is really, you have to think like a consumer. This is what will help them more than anything else, because these are not just systems to use in the practice, they're systems to communicate and connect in life, period. It's lifelong connection. So when this gentleman started this whole dissertation on what he wanted to talk about, it's like the doctor when they pontificate on occlusion, and they don't care how their teeth fit together. They just know they want to get rid of the headaches. That's the choice. So for me, I said, you know, that's really more than I wanted to spend. I'm not interested in trading or buying right now. And I left. And what happens when somebody tells us that it's too expensive? Melinda, what happens in the practice?
They leave.
We back off, because I don't want to tell them it's not too expensive or you should afford this.
We're afraid, actually.
That's exactly right.
Afraid.
So, and we'll get into that, but for now, what I want you to understand is money is the excuse people use to have you back up, which means you didn't listen, ask, discover. So the next dealership that I went to, the gentleman said, what is it about the current GPS that you don't like? I said, I don't like that when I'm in traffic, I can't hit the button easily and talk to her and change the directions. And he said, let me show you how great that feature is on this model.
Beautiful.
I bought the car from him. Never talked about price particularly. The guy listened to me. My dominant buying choice was what? Direction. We travel. I travel a lot. I'm geographically challenged. Proud to admit it. It's part of my heritage. But one of the things that you'll learn is so much of the material that you're going to get here is real. Remember, real people really in dentistry. So much of what we do is about that lifelong connection. Incidentally, this is the Infinity that I have now is the 3rd Infinity I bought from this same gentleman. Because I have a lifelong connection. He changed dealerships, so did I. And, you know, I drive 90 miles to go to the dealership. Yeah. So it really is about listening to what the caller says, asking, and then coming back to it. Listening, asking, discovering, listening, asking, discovering. Keep coming back to what their choice is, not yours.
So if this is a new concept, which is a new concept for most people, how can the team members start to practice this skill this week?
That's a great question. You know, I would say one of the things you can start to do this week is just listen more intently. Now, think about what I just said. You and I have conversations, and you're a great friend of mine also, and you listen. And, you know, when you talk to me, I listen. What I'm going to challenge you to do today is to listen with the intent to serve. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So I want you to listen with the intent to serve. So for instance, when your teammate says, you know, I've got to get in there and get the lab taken care of, or I can't get out on time to get my son to piano lessons. When you hear that, and you know this is a day you could run maybe 5 or 10 minutes after the hour, and you don't have a child to get to piano lessons, you go in, you take care of what's happening in the lab, and you say, you know, Ashley, I just wanted to let you know, I took care of that so you can get your child to piano lessons on time.
Remembering.
So it's listening and discovering and doing something about it. So it is remembering. I think that in the beginning, the hardest part is just listening. When they call and say, you know, I'm going to have all my teeth taken out because my mom had soft teeth and my dad had soft teeth. And we're going to cover all that in a module. But what did they say? Listen. Now ask a question. You know, when did your mom know she had soft teeth? And what you're going to do is you're going to discover something about this patient. Don't make them wrong. Just listen.
So the dominant buying choice is that process of asking and discovering what is there for them. What is it for this patient?
Yeah.
And the value of writing it down and making it so that we can transfer it, that's the system.
It really is.
For remembering from time to time their dominant buying choice.
Yeah, it is. You know, and of course we have so many modules that kind of overlap and they understand, but you'll gain the understanding of how valuable this is and how you never lose it. It's how you'll keep them on the schedule if they call to try to cancel. It's how we have them understand that we've got this big block of time and you've got to be there because it's special for you. We go back to what their choice was, why they chose us, and it's in order for you to get what you said you wanted, Melinda, which was, in order for you to get what you said you wanted, Joanne, which was a GPS that was easier to use, I'm going to need you to give us till next week to get the details on this card. What did I do? I waited. So you've got to really listen with the intent to serve.